All right, guys, welcome back to Falcon Central Radio, part of the Pro Football Central Radio Network. I am your host, Erin Freeman, and today I am going to be breaking down the film of new Falcons pass rusher, Dante Fowler. We're going to be looking at his Week 7 matchup against the Atlanta Falcons primarily, and in so doing, we'll get to talk a little bit about offensive line play. We'll talk a little bit about Caleb McGarry and some of the weaknesses that he has, and why Fowler was so successful against him. We'll compare that to some of the reasons why he was less effective when he faced Jake Matthews in that game, although he was able to get some positive rushes and create some sacks against Jake in that game. But we'll show you sort of the differences from a technical aspect of where Jake Matthews is, from a technique standpoint, and where Caleb McGarry needs to get to as part of the process of breaking down Dante Fowler. We'll look at some of Fowler's ability in pass, and not just as a pass rusher, but also in pass coverage, which we'll look at sort of his ability to recognize screens really well. We will also look at the value that he can bring as a run defender as well. Later in the episode, I will show you a game in which Fowler was less effective against the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple of weeks after that Falcons game, and I'll detail exactly what the Steelers did from a scheme and a game planning standpoint to really slow down Fowler in that game. But we'll also sort of highlight some of Fowler's weaknesses as a pass rusher and areas where he could potentially get better at if he wants to become a more well-rounded pass rusher. But that's sort of on deck for you guys. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I know if you missed this week's Falcons Central Radio on Thursday night, it was devoted entirely to the 2020 NFL draft, because we had interviews of two draft prospects: Oklahoma State cornerback AJ Green, Utah linebacker Francis Bernard. By the way, Bernard has been in quite a bit of contact with the Falcons this offseason, and given the Falcons having a potential need at the linebacker position, he may be a target for the team on potentially on day 2. So I would highly recommend you guys looking at that interview after you watch the film breakdown today. This is probably going to run me at least an hour, maybe even an hour and a half, depending on how many tangents you guys catch me going on, because there are, I might go on a James Carpenter rant in this game, because he had also a rough outing alongside Caleb McGarry in this game. But, if I can keep that rant to a minimum, we'll see sort of how long this runs. But definitely probably an hour-long episode, maybe even hour and a half type of episode. And for those of you guys listening to the audio version of this, I would highly recommend that you guys watch the video version, of course, on Pro Football Central on YouTube. Make sure that you like and subscribe these videos. Again, the more people that these things get out, you guys retweet it, you guys share it on Facebook, you share it on all the platforms, all the places that you guys like to visit, so that more people can watch these breakdowns and get, I think, a more balanced look at some of these players. We've done one on Hayden Hurst. We've done one on Todd Gurley. We're going to do one on Dante Fowler. I will ask you guys in the chat what you want me to do next Saturday. Do you want a Laquan Treadwell? Do you want a Justin McCray? Who do you guys want me to break down? We'll stick to NFL players right now, and then we'll get into the draft guys after the draft. But let me know in the chat what players you want to see me break down their film. We can do multiple players, because again, it's not like, there's like mountains and mountains of Justin McCray and Laquan Treadwell film that we need to really go through. So we could wind up doing multiple players on next week's breakdown. But please let me know in the chat. And again, if you're listening to the audio version of this episode, then congratulations, but it's not going to be as compelling from an audio standpoint as it is with a video standpoint. But no more, now that business is out of the way, let's get into this film breakdown. And as I said, we're going to be looking at a bunch of plays. I think I got about like 21, 22 plays on deck from this Falcons game. And this was a Week 7 game where I think Fowler had like 3 sacks and was really dominant in this game. And we got, several plays on several different drives. And we'll start off on the opening drive for the Falcons. This is going to be a play where Fowler is going to do a good job going up against Austin Hooper on a block out in space draw a holding call, just does a good job setting the edge, as you can see. And I'm going to run the play through from the sideline angle and then from the end zone angle, and then we'll pause. And, for some plays don't really need pausing. But here's Fowler here on the right side of your screen. You see Hooper going in motion, and he's just going to do a good job setting the edge, disengage, draw that holding call, and it's going to nullify what was a positive game for Devonta Freeman. If you want to see it one more time, in case it was too fast for some of you guys. But there it is. There's the hold right there. And flag. Solid play for Dante Fowler. We're going to go to the next play, which again is another running play. And this is actually Fowler not doing as good a job, not showing as much discipline as he should on this play. He's at the top of your screen. He's going to wind up shooting inside and is going to lose outside contain. And then Freeman's going to find space behind that with the soft box. It's just not, you want to play a little bit more discipline than Fowler does on this play. There's going to be a play later in this game where he kind of does the exact same thing and actually makes the play. So, it's a, live by the sword, die by the sword type of play. But, given this soft box, you want to see Fowler rewind it for you guys. But, it's going to be a zone run on the inside. He does a good job recognizing this play. You're going to see it right there. He's going to shoot inside, realizing where the run is. But because he loses that outside contain, Littleton's going to have to scrape over the top. He's not going to, and that's going to leave this huge space of cutback lane for Devonta Freeman to cut it up. And just not ideal for the Dante Fowler on the run. So we show you the good, we show you the bad against the run. There's more good than bad on this film breakdown. And this is going to be a play where Fowler's going to be on the bottom side. He's going to get decked by a chip. And that's going to be a running theme throughout this film breakdown, where Fowler, one of the ways that you can effectively slow down Dante Fowler is by chipping him with tight ends and running backs, because he's primarily a speed rusher. And those can be pretty effective at slowing him down. That's something when we get into the Steelers game towards the end, you're going to see be really effective against him to slow him down. And that Steelers game is week 10. This is week 7. So clearly the Steelers watched the film of this game and said, okay, we need to do a better job than what the Falcons did in this game to slow down Fowler's speed rush. And just a good job by Devonta Freeman. You're also going to see on this play James Carpenter getting beat by Erin, none other than Aaron Donald. And again, we're going to see a lot of Aaron Donald being Aaron Donald on this film breakdown, guys. So this is the first of many times where he gets the pressure on Matt Ryan. But fortunately, Matt Ryan has a clean pocket, steps up and delivers a first down to Calvin Ridley. So that's what I wanted to show you from the first series. Let's move on to the second series later in the first quarter. And this is going to be Dante Fowler's first sack of the game. And it's going to be a good play by Dante Fowler. But one of the things that we're going to focus on this play, since we're Falcon fans, and awesome job by Dante Fowler to come clean. As you guys watch it and didn't see exactly where he come, but sorry for not explaining. He's on the bottom of the screen. He's going against Caleb McGarry. Caleb McGarry going to try to redirect him, and we'll go into further detail, but I just want to show you guys this play. And Devonta Freeman doesn't do a good job. And I would say Caleb McGarry deserves credit for giving up the sack, but I think Devonta does a bad job on this play. He basically hesitates and doesn't know whether or not he wants to pick up the blitz. He doesn't know whether or not he wants to release into the flat. He ultimately decides to release into the flat, but in so doing, he runs into Caleb McGarry, which prevents him from being able to make the adjustment to pick up Dante Fowler, and Dante Fowler comes clean to get an easy sack on Matt Ryan. But, great play by Dante Fowler. He's going to do his little kick on this play or something. Oh, no, he does the bow. The kick comes on another play. But what I wanted to point out on this play, and we're going to focus a little bit more on Caleb McGarry. We'll have some other opportunities to focus on Dante Fowler. This is just, an effort sack, I guess you can call it. Caleb McGarry is not going to show ideal hand placement on this play. So again, even though we can sit here and say Devonta Freeman doesn't do a great job on this play helping him out. So the Falcons going to slide their protections to the left. Obviously, Aaron Donald's on this side, so they're going to slide it to what is the Falcons left, and for you guys on your screen, the right side of the screen. So you're going to see them slide their protections to the left. So what Caleb McGarry is going to wind up doing is try to push Fowler towards his help, which is going to come potentially in the form of Jamon Brown, which not on this particular play, but Devonta Freeman coming across this side to help him out. But what you see here with Kaleb McGary is at this moment, his hands are high and tight, but essentially what you want to do, ideally for an offensive tackle, and we'll show some plays later on where you'll see exactly what I'm talking about with Jake Matthews doing it the right way, is ideally if Kaleb McGary needs to decide at this point where he wants Dante Fowler to go, he needs to control this engagement. And so if Kaleb McGary wants Dante Fowler to go towards his help, which is basically to Kaleb McGary's left or inside, he needs to punch with this right hand. So that initial punch is going to then redirect Dante Fowler to where he wants to go. And then that secondary hand, once he is able to redirect him and shock him with that initial punch, that secondary hand can go and then control Dante Fowler from that point in time. So if Kaleb McGary wants Dante Fowler to go outside, then he needs to punch with his inside hand. And then the secondary hand is going to be his outside hand. Zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. And so you want that inside hand to be the initial punch, and then the outside hand is going to control there. If he wants to redirect him to the inside, he needs to punch with his outside hand and then use that inside hand to then be that secondary hand to get that control. And so what you're going to see is Kaleb McGary's not really going to punch. He's just going to kind of lean into this block with both hands, and he's going to get a nice shove on Dante Fowler once Dante Fowler does a little swipe and chop, right? He's going to shove him, and it's going to knock him off his rush. And in this instance, if Devonta Freeman is there to decides to, okay, let me help out my guy, he's going to be able to get Dante Fowler, and that's going to be a rep in which Dante Fowler loses and doesn't come clean for that block. But what ends up happening is because Kaleb McGary doesn't show ideal hand technique, he's going to push him, which is cool and all, that potentially, and again, if Devonta Freeman does his job, that block is going to be effective. But essentially, you don't want to have to rely on somebody else to do their job in order for you to do your job. And so if Kaleb McGary wants Dante Fowler to go inside, he should have punched with that outside hand, which he doesn't do, and then control with this inside hand so that when Fowler tries to cross his face, he can't go anywhere because that inside hand is going to be able to jar him. He doesn't really do that. He just pushes him. And then basically because Devontae gets in his way trying to release out into the flat, he's not able to recover quickly enough to prevent the sack. So that's going to be a play that I wanted to show you. Keep that in mind because this is going to be a continued issue for Kaleb McGary. And later on, we're going to be able to show a couple plays later. We're going to show you some plays where Alex Mack does it perfectly. This next play is going to be Dante Fowler getting what you could call a sack assist. He's going to be lined up here on the top going up against Jake Matthews. He's going to basically blow up Jake and Devonta Freeman, which is going to prevent Devonta from stepping up to pick up the blitz from Corey Littleton. You're also going to see Aaron Donald basically draw all this attention. I'll break it down when after you guys run it from the end zone angle. So there's the sack. So a lot happens on this play. So let's go through it again. So let's focus on Dante Fowler. He does, a good job on this play. And so basically he's going to use a speed rush. He's going to attack outside. He's going to take out Jake Matthews and Devonta Freeman, who's sort of responsible to clean up this play. And so what that's going to end up doing is Corey Littleton's going to sort of have a delayed rush. And because Fowler's going to be able to take out Freeman's not going to be in a position where he can pick up Littleton on that delayed rush, and Littleton's going to come free to get that sack. What you're also going to see is Samson Ebukam, number 50 here. He's going to loop inside on a stunt, and he's going to be able to get past Alex Mack. And the reason why he's going to loop all the way to this A gap right here between Mack and Jamon Brown. And ideally, Jamon Brown is going to help out Alex Mack on this given play. And so essentially what that's going to do, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Too much going on in this play. So Ebukam is going to loop in. That's going to prevent Matt Ryan, and that's going to flush Matt Ryan into Corey Littleton. So I'll run it through so you guys can see that. And then I'll break down further. See Ebukam's pressure, and then Littleton's there, right? So Littleton's hanging out here. Ebukam crosses the face, right? Fowler takes out Freeman. A lot going on this play. He's going to cross it. And there. Okay, so what you're going to see on this play, I want to rewind it. Here's Aaron Donald. And this is the Aaron Donald effect. Generally speaking, as we see often in this league, the reason why you can argue that you can literally put anybody on the same defensive line as Aaron Donald, he's going to be more effective than he would be in any other situation. And you can argue that's a big reason why Fowler was so successful and had this breakout season in 2019 because of Aaron Donald's presence on that line, is that Aaron Donald's going to draw so much attention. And right now, the Falcons going to double team with Austin Hooper and Caleb McGarry. But Jamon Brown's just going to be peeking at Aaron Donald the whole time because he's like, I got to help out my guys if they can't block Aaron Donald. And so what that's going to leave is Alex Mack on an island to pick up the stunt. And so you'll see it. Just pay attention to Jamon Brown, right? They got Aaron Donald double team, and he's completely focused on Aaron Donald, completely whiffs on this stunt, right? He's not even looking. He's looking over here. He's peeking over at Aaron Donald where the stunt is coming. Doesn't even pay attention, and that leads to that. So that's the Aaron Donald effect, guys. And this is going to be a continued theme on when we continue to break down this film, where there's going to be several plays, particularly with Jamon Brown, going to be so focused on Aaron Donald. He's basically the equivalent of Julio Jones when it comes to wide receivers. So Julio Jones is going to draw all these coverages, and that's going to basically allow all the other receivers that the Falcons have to get single coverage pretty consistently. And for the guys that are consistently able to take advantage of those single coverage, like the Sanus and the Ridleys and the Gabriels and the Hoopers, they're going to be successful here. And if you're a receiver that's not capable of that, you're not going to be as successful. But it allows guys that aren't necessarily top-notch receivers, like the Christian Blakes, like the Zacchaeuses, like the Russell Gages, to be effective here in Atlanta because they're playing across from Julio Jones. So wanted to show you that play. Good play by Fowler. He's helping out by freeing up some of his teammates a little bit, but it's mostly Aaron Donald doing that throughout their play. This is going to be Fowler on the top side of your screen. He's going to basically do a good job recognizing Dirk Cutter's favorite play, a tight end screen, bat the pass, make a nice athletic play. Not a whole lot to really break down on this play, but we'll show you guys nonetheless. Again, here's Fowler on the right side. And then one of the things that you'll see with Fowler, he does a good job recognizing screens, and he's going to see that and then make it just a nice athletic play. So we'll show you that. We'll run to the next play. And this next play is going to show you a better job. And I'm going to show you what I talked about a couple of plays ago about Caleb McGarry's bad punch. Here you're going to see Jake Matthews going up against Fowler, and you're going to see it. I'll slow it down for you eventually when we run it through one time, of Jake Matthews doing exactly what I'm saying, which is, using his hands to sort of redirect the pass rusher. Again, Fowler on the right side stagnates. For you Falcon fans that are so focused on Matt Ryan missing this throw, this is what we're talking about, where you need that rapport with your receivers, and it takes time to build that. Matt's going to throw it, I think, an accurate pass here. It's going to be behind Russell Gage, but the expectation is Russell Gage is going to slow down his route by reading the coverage and settle and not run here. And Matt's going to throw it here, and he should settle like right here, and it's just slightly behind him. So I just wanted to show you that, because I know you guys are Falcon fans first, but we'll slow it down, and I'll show you exactly what I was talking about, where Fowler's going to attack Jake Matthews to his outside shoulder, right? And Jake Matthews is going to punch with his outside hand. That's going to be Jake Matthews' left hand, right? He's going to punch with that outside hand to slow down Fowler's momentum. And then he's going to use that secondary hand to, lock down the chest and then control, and engagement's over. Jake has won that engagement. And so you'll see that right here, right? And the knock on Fowler on this pass rush move right here is he's going to leave his feet. He's going to try to do the swipe and chop, and he's going to leave his feet. You see Fowler's feet are off the ground. And so what ends up happening, because Jake Matthews is able to engage with that secondary hand, right, where Fowler's trying to chop down that first hand, the initial punch, and he leaves his feet, and that secondary hand locks onto him. And then because Fowler's feet are off the ground, he can't generate power right here. So his feet lands, and it's over. Jake's locked him down right there because Fowler can't generate power because of he's lost his feet and lost his base and whatnot. So again, I'll show it run one more time. Jake's going to use that outside hand to slow down Fowler's outside rush. That's going to redirect him to where he wants him to go. And then he's going to put that secondary hand on the defender and then control the engagement. And that's ideally how you want to use it. And that's not something that Caleb McGarry has learned quite yet, how to use his hands, and he needs to do a better job doing so. And he'll make improvements. And that's just a technical thing of being able to use your hands and punching. Let's move on to the next series. And this is going to be one of the times where Caleb McGarry does a good job winning this matchup. You're going to see Fowler going up against McGarry at the top of your screen. And Fowler's going to try to bend the edge, and McGary's going to lean on him. Fowler's going to kind of slip a little bit, and thus this is going to be one of the few times, and probably the last time in this game, where Fowler's going to try to use speed rush against Caleb McGary, and it's not going to work. And you're going to see later on the film times where McGary's going to try to do exactly the same thing that he did on this play. I'll rewind it for you guys. So what's going to end up happening is Fowler's going to try to do that, the dip and rip and bend the edge, right? There's the rip. There's the dip, the rip. McGary's going to lean on him, right? They call this ankle flexion when you get sort of perpendicular, but because Fowler can't get that footing, thanks to the landscapers at the bins, that footing is a little tougher on the painted surfaces. He's going to slip, lose his balance, and not be able to power through that. We're going to show you other plays where Fowler is going to be successfully able to power through. And so what ends up happening is McGary's going to successfully win this engagement because he's going to lean on Fowler, even though he's kind of beat on this play. And he's going to try this. We'll show you plays where he's going to try this later, and it's not going to be as effective because Fowler's going to be able to power through that. So this is going to be one time where Caleb McGary does win in that engagement, and he's going to try to keep going back to that well, and it's not going to be very effective. We're going to show you another play. Again, this is going to be another example of Jake Matthews doing a good job going up against Fowler and resetting his hands. So this is going to be a win for Jake and being able to lock on, although as you can tell, the rest of the pass protection did not hold up against Matt Ryan. It's going to lead to an incompletion, and I think on a 3rd and long on this particular play. So we'll run it through one time. You see the entire rest of the offensive line completely collapsing here, and we'll break that down as well. But first I want to show you Fowler on the left side of your guys' screen going up against Jake Matthews. And again, you're going to see Jake Matthews use that initial hand there on the outside to slow down Fowler's outside momentum. Then he comes with that right hand, gets him inside his chest, controls that engagement. That's just good hand placement, good hand technique by Jake Matthews. He's going to, reload those hips, regain that balance, and then just push Fowler wide. You're going to see Caleb McGary going up against Aaron Donald is a mismatch. You're going to see, again, Jamon Brown, I got to help my guy out. And I think there's going to be, Matt gets beat. Barner whiffs on this block on Littleton. Donald's going to beat McGary with speed again because McGary doesn't do a good job using that outside hand to slow down that speed, but it's Aaron Donald, so we understand it. And it's just going to be a race to the quarterback, and Matt Ryan's going to get completely obliterated, and a heads-up play for Matt Ryan to get rid of this ball quickly because he's just going to get annihilated on this play. And this was a theme throughout this entire game. The offensive line did not do a good job helping out this team in a lot of ways in this game. So it was very problematic. This is going to be a play. This next play is just going to be Fowler doing a good job of being assignment sound. And what's going to end up happening, all he's going to do at the top of the screen is just chuck Devontae Freeman. I also wanted to show you this play just because Julio Jones roasts Jalen Ramsey on this play. But you're going to see Fowler out here wide. And what's going to end up happening, they're in man coverage. And so Littleton's going to be responsible for the running back. And so Fowler, knowing that Middleton is lined up in the middle of the field, is not going to be able to get to Devontae Freeman if he releases into the flat, which he does. And so what he's going to do is wind up chucking Devontae Freeman. This is good team defense, right? Here's Littleton in the middle of the field. They're in man coverage. He's lined up in the A gap over the center to show a blitz, but they're going to be in man coverage here. And he's going to do a good job, Fowler here on the right side of your screen, chucking Devontae Freeman to slow him down enough so that Littleton can better get in a position to showcase. But what I really wanted to show you guys on this play, I'm just making an excuse because this is the Falcon fan in me, just Julio Jones, showcasing that deep speed against Jalen Ramsey. And he's going to get on top of him early in this play and stay on top of him. And Matt Ryan's going to hit him in stride for a 39-yard pass. So that's just deep speed. Watch, I want to run it through again. He's on top of him. He's won it. Matt Ryan's already cocked back, ready to throw, right? Ball's out. Right? He's only got a step. That's what being open in the NFL is. You got that step on the receiver, and he's only got a step on him, but by the time the ball is at the height of, its parabola, whatever that's called, in the air, he's going to gain 2-3 yards of separation. That's what we call deep speed. Just wanted to highlight that play because it's Julio being Julio. We've talked about Donald being Donald. we're going to talk about Julio being Julio. But on this next play, let's get back to Dante Fowler. He's going to be up here on the top, and this is going to be a good time where he's going to use that rip move to get that pressure, force Matt Ryan up in the pocket, and he's going to deliver, I think, an incomplete pass to – no, he actually completes that pass to Devontae Freeman. But that's good pressure by Fowler here on the right side. Use that rip move to rip under, use that speed. I think he's going to win in like 4 steps. Ideally, a speed rush is going to win in 3 steps. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Okay. So ideally, your elite speed rushers, the Dwight Freeney's of the world, etc., are going to win in the first 3 steps. Fowler's going to win in 4 steps. Once he's even, as they say, you've heard this phrase before, once he's even, he's leaving, as they say. So he's won this rep right here. Boom. He's won it on his 4th step. And that's like why Fowler is a good speed rusher, but isn't elite because he doesn't win on the 3rd step like elite speed rushers do. He can win on the 4th step, but he's going to rip under. McGarry's going to try to lean, but it's too late. And he's just going to power through that. Again, show you that ankle flexion, that perpendicularity to get to corner that. You're going to also see Jake Matthews give up too much ground to, I think, Ebukam on that play. It's going to lead to Matt Ryan stepping up. He's going to get rid of the ball. Fortunately, Matt Ryan doing his best despite the pressure. But a good play by Fowler. This is going to be basically his go-to move, a speed rush and a rip under, bending that edge. And when he can face tackles like Caleb McGarry in this game, and we'll show you later when we get to the Steelers game at the end of today's episode, but when he's not able to use that speed as effectively, he's not going to be as effective. But against Caleb McGarry, who just couldn't handle that speed in the slightest, it was very effective. So I wanted to show you that play. Here's one of the few instances where the Falcons do an effective job of using the tight end to slow down Fowler on this play. And so what you're going to see from a better angle here, you're going to see Austin Hooper on your right side of the screen, and that's going to prevent Fowler from really using that speed and getting that get off, and he's going to try to like a late stunt to try to win and just get stonewalled. And again, as a preview for what we're going to get into later in the episode, when we talk about Steelers, the Steelers are going to do a really good job of using the tight end to slow down Fowler. They're going to use chips. The Falcons did not do that. And whether you want to blame Dirk Cutter, whether you want to blame Chris Morgan, whoever, you can blame any number of the coaches that they did not do a great job helping out their rookie offensive tackle by using the tight end, using the running back to chip on that, to consistently give him help. So again, you're going to see this tight end. Ideally, if Fowler's going to use his speed rush, his path is going to go right through where Austin Hooper is lined up. And that's why it's so effective to put a tight end against these speed rushers, because they can't pin their ears back like they normally would if they were using their speed rush. So he's basically going to slow down that. So Fowler can't use that speed rush, and then he's going to wind up trying to basically, try to loop inside, but realizes at this point, I can't get there. There's too much clutter here behind Aaron Donald. And Matt Ryan's going to wind up missing this throw because of the pressure, thanks to our boy James Carpenter against Morgan Fox, who's going to beat him with a chop move. You'll see on the left side, there's the chop, there's the hit. Matt Ryan's off target. Shout out to our boy James Carpenter. This is the moment where I'm going to go on my Carpenter rant. Carpenter, one of my issues last year was when they benched Jamon Brown. He had been clearly much better than James Carpenter throughout the season. James Carpenter was bad. When people talk about the left guard situation, the real problem with the Falcons left guard situation is the Falcons, for some reason, probably because Chris Morgan coached James Carpenter in Seattle, but the coaching staff just had too much confidence in James Carpenter. Basically, for like that first, 11 games, Jamon Brown was consistently better than James Carpenter, despite the fact that Jamon Brown was playing hurt. Maybe James Carpenter was also playing hurt, but Jamon Brown's playing hurt was better than James Carpenter. Then in that Tampa Bay game, everybody in the Falcons offensive line was bad, but Jamon Brown was especially bad. And then the Falcons decided to bench Jamon Brown, even though for like the 11 previous weeks, Jamon Brown was better than James Carpenter, but like the Falcons did this the year before with Ben Garland. Ben Garland was clearly the Falcons' best guard and had played so well for like the month prior to him getting benched. But he plays one bad game against Sheldon Rankins, which the Saints obliterated. And the Falcons are like, well, we need to shake up this offensive line. And because you, Ben Garland, are coming off, you had the worst game last week, we're going to bench you, even though for the 4 previous games, he was like the team's 3rd or 4th best offensive lineman. And, Schweitzer was struggling, and Schrader definitely was struggling at that point in time. So, sorry for going on a rant in the middle of this, but it was just, I hate this. I'm not gonna say I hate this coaching staff, but like they just make some dumb decisions, and like people are like, oh, they know more than you. It's like maybe, but like they make dumb decisions. And this play, I just wanted to show you this play because we saw a play where Devontae Freeman did a poor job blocking, and because I don't want anybody to get it twisted, Devontae Freeman is an excellent pass protector and does a great job to give Matt Ryan the room to throw this deep pass. Unfortunately, Julio Jones can't reel it in. It's a slight overthrow, but Julio should catch this ball. But watch Devontae right there pick that up. Fowler tries to twist inside. We'll show you Fowler. I know this is a Fowler film breakdown, but I can't help myself by showing you good Falcon plays because most of these plays are going to be negative Falcon plays. Fowler's going to be right here. He's going to try to twist inside on this stunt. But because Devontae Freeman does a good job picking up this blitz of Littleton through this A gap, it's going to completely stonewall not only Littleton, but it's also going to stonewall Fowler as well. And that's going to give Matt Ryan plenty of room to actually have a clean pocket this time and throw a catchable pass to Julio Jones, but it's a slight overthrow and he can't make the grab. But just wanted to show you that before anybody gets it twisted that, oh, Devontae Freeman's a terrible pass protector, because that narrative is pervasive in the fan base because of one play in the Super Bowl or 2 plays, one against the Eagles the following year in the postseason. And everybody's like, oh, he's a terrible pass protector. He misses some blocks from time to time. There's no doubt about that. But wanted to show you that. This is a second effort sack from Fowler. And I know you guys missed it on the initial setup. But Fowler's going to be here. Matt Ryan's going to step up in the pocket. Fowler's going to be able to disengage. And this is going to highlight a difference between Fowler and Vic Beasley. And I'll rewind it so you guys can see. So he's going to try to win with the initial outside rush. But again, Devontae Freeman's going to be there with the attempt to chip. That's going to slow that down. And then Fowler's going to spin back, right, and get that second effort hit on Matt Ryan, which is going to lead to an incomplete pass when he's trying to get rid of the ball. And one of the misconceptions I think that people had about Vic Beasley was that people questioned his motor. And it wasn't that Vic Beasley had a poor motor. It was that Vic Beasley never rushed with a plan. And this is a play where Fowler's basically like, I'm going to try to win with speed. And when that doesn't work, I have a plan B, which is I'm going to disengage with my spin move, right? Come back inside. And Vic Beasley never had that, right? There's other plays that we're going to show you that also illustrate the difference between Fowler and Vic Beasley as well. But like people always say like, oh, Vic Beasley gives up on plays. It's not that he gives up on plays. It's just like he doesn't have a plan B because he's not been coached particularly well to learn counter moves because the Falcons waited 5 years to coach him counter moves. But again, I'm not here to badmouth the Falcons coaching staff. But that's a good job by Fowler to basically show, okay, my plan A is a speed rush. My plan B is to disengage with the spin off of that and be able to step up if the quarterback steps up after that initial speed rush. So that's Fowler having a plan, and that's the difference between him and Vic Beasley, which is Vic Beasley basically, if he doesn't win that initial engagement, he's only going to win on cleanup type of plays like that by basically just being able to outrun, basically loop around the back side of the pocket and get, step when the quarterback steps up or whatever the case may be. So let's go to the next play. This is another stack for Fowler. Again, this is going to be another instance after I showed you earlier where Caleb McGarry, here's Fowler at the top. He's going to try to lean on him on that rip move. He's not going to be able to do so. And again, this is another play that we could use to highlight the difference between Fowler and Vic Beasley, because Fowler is able to power through that because Vic Beasley is, I know he's listed at 245, but he basically plays like he's 220 because he doesn't have core strength. Fowler doesn't have issues with core strength. He's not, the biggest, strongest guy, but core strength is not a concern for Dante Fowler. So you're going to see this again, the rip, There's the bend, dip, rip. And again, McGarry's going to try to lean on him like he did successfully a couple of plays ago that I showed you. But Fowler's going to be able to get that flexion, power through it, right? Then get the sack strip from behind against Matt Ryan. You're going to see Okoronkwo do a good job, use the long arm against Jake Matthews to collapse the pocket a little bit. But Fowler is going to make that play regardless. McGarry's going to fall on a loose ball. Let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to point out in this play? No, I think that's it. So, yeah, again, I did in an ideal world, again, you want to see McGarry use this outside arm to punch and slow down this outside rush with Fowler. Again, let's count the steps to see how many steps it takes Fowler to get past 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth step he's past him. So yeah, 4-step speed rush. You want to see that outside arm, just you got to slow down that momentum somehow. You got to get either wider on your kick slide or you got to do something. But that's an area of improvement potentially for Caleb McGarry, and we'll see if he can make those improvements this year. Let's move on. Now we're in the third quarter, and this is going to be a run play. Fowler's going to get penetration. He's going to come unblocked, miss the tackle. Again, just, ideally you want to see him get out wide and make that play on that toss play, but he doesn't. Nothing that we need to go into deep detail over. But here's Fowler on the left side. He's going to see it, but not be able to make that play. And so in an ideal world, he'll make that play. But he makes plenty of run plays. We got a couple more run plays that we're going to show you later on. Here is Fowler getting the chip. The Falcons using the tight end and Luke Stocker to chip. But Fowler's still going to win and get a hurry on this play. And you're going to see that chip there. And then he's going to get inside McGarry. And he's going to get into Matt Ryan's sight line, which in addition to, I think it's Tanzel Smart on this play, and number 69, who's going to beat, I think, Carpenter on this play. Yeah. And watch 69. He's going to get the pressure, but Fowler here on the left side is going to get that chip help from, but then get into Ryan's sight line, and that's going to be part of the reason that leads Matt Ryan to basically flee the pocket. He's already been hit too many times in this game. We'll show you that again. Again, focus on Fowler here on the left side. Luke Stocker gets the effective chip, buys Caleb McGarry time, but Caleb McGarry kind of, doesn't stay ideally. He just kind of walks out to his spot and then isn't really in position to, control Fowler. He just kind of redirects him, which is fine, but, it's not a complete terrible play. Obviously, if James Carpenter doesn't get whooped by Tanzel Smart with that little push-pull in the arm over, which is the real pressure here. And Carpenter got flagged on that play as well. So, just, one time where the Falcons did use a chip and it was kind of effective, but then even McGarry didn't do an ideal job winning that matchup. We'll go to the next series, and this is going to be, I think, Fowler's third and final sack of the game. And this is going to go against Jake Matthews. And this is going to be another sort of second effort sack where Fowler does a good job upon disengaging and then throwing has a plan B pass rush move. You're going to see he's going to try to attack outside speed. Jake is going to do a good job showing you the hands that I've talked about, slowing down that outside momentum. But then on the second effort, then Fowler's going to rip back inside with the rip move. Oh, sorry. I was letting it play out too long. To show you guys, I'll show you. Slow it down. Jake's going to use that outside hand and win with the secondary hand, control Fowler. But then they're going to disengage. Fowler's going to line up Matt Ryan, then use that plan B and rip under. And because Matt Ryan's already too deep in the pocket, which again, if I'm nitpicking here, play action pass, too much depth, too many long developing routes. Matt Ryan's forced to hold on to the ball because Julio is basically making this double move here. And so he has to wait for Julio to make that move. And, Stocker gives up some ground to Ebukam. And it's going to lead to a sack here on Matt Ryan here for Dante Fowler. So Jake does a good job winning the initial engagement, but again, because Fowler has a plan B, he can still win even if he doesn't win the initial engagement. And that's when people talk about his motor and all those various things. And it's less to do with effort. I mean, effort is important. Don't get me wrong. And Fowler definitely has that in spades, but it also is, I can improvise on the fly and I have a plan B. So even if I don't win the initial engagement, I can improvise on the fly. And that's a good example. What is this play? Oh, this is going to be a good job where Fowler does show a good job in run support, where on that initial drive where I showed you he shot inside and lost outside contain, he's going to shoot inside and actually make the play here. So wanted to show you guys that here against Brian Hill. Make that little tackle, slow him down. So you'll see it better from the end zone angle. Here's Fowler on the right side. He's going to shoot inside with Brockers getting upfield, and he's going to be able to avoid that tackle and make the tackle. So solid run play by Fowler. As I said, we were going to still use some positive run plays as well. Here, he's going to try to use the long arm pass rush move against Jake Matthews, but again, doesn't really do a great job. He's going to try to use that inside rip that he did earlier off the long arm. Schweitzer comes to help him out. Doesn't really work. And again, you know, the one knock on Fowler is similar to Vic Beasley. Again, it's not quite to the degree of Vic Beasley for the reasons I've mentioned, because Vic Beasley doesn't have the core strength. He doesn't have those sort of plan B pass rush moves. So Fowler is more effective than Vic Beasley. But one of the things, and this will be more prevalent when we get later on in the show and we talk about the Steeler game, is Fowler's primarily, he's going to win with the outside speed rush, that dip and rip, and on stunts. Those are his two go-through things. And when he tries to use other moves, you know, again, I'll highlight a couple of them, they're not as effective. It's not to sit here and say he doesn't try other moves, because he does, but they're not as developed, and so he can't really rely on them like other top flight pass rushers that have a full arsenal of developed moves where they can just throw anything at you and they can win in multiple ways. Fowler's not really this guy. And so you're going to see on this particular play, he's going to try to long arm Jake Matthews right here on the right side, and then rip off of that on an inside. See, there's the long arm, right? And Jake's going to chop it down. And then when he's going to rip, Jake's going to be, because his footwork isn't ideal. You can see that footwork being a little sloppy there, right? I'll show you again in full speed so you can see better. Just doesn't really rip because Jake does a good job of chopping that arm down. And so he kind of loses his balance there for a second, right? And just doesn't rip through that, you know? So that's one of those things where it's just a move that Fowler could use some work developing on. Here's going to be another screen pass where Fowler's going to show pretty good recognition on this play. He's not going to make the play. He's here on the bottom. Michael Brockers is, but just does a good job with the recognition to at least help out Brockers on this play. And just another instance where he does a good job recognizing screens. And that's one of the things that consistently shows up in his film, that he does a good job recognizing screens there. So Brockers makes the play, but Fowler's, you know, there for the assist, I guess you could say. Next play is going to be mostly an Aaron Donald play, but Fowler is going to come on a stunt here. Oh, yeah, this is going to be Donald being Donald. Fowler's going to come clean and get a hurry there on a stunt. You'll see it better from the end zone angle, right? Fowler's here. There's going to be a stunt inside, and he's going to come clean, and you'll notice full speed. Why didn't Jamon Brown pick him up? Well, goes back to what I said earlier. Jamon Brown's going to be like, hey, there's Aaron Donald here, and I only have eyes for Aaron Donald. And so you're going to see Jamon Brown's not even going to pay any attention, right? At this moment, he should be sweeping his leg out so that he can pick up the stunt. But no, Jamon Brown's like, nope, I'm all about Aaron Donald. Ole. So that's Aaron Donald. That's what he does. You know, Jamon Brown needs to do a better job there, but, you know, you can't help focus on Aaron Donald when you're facing him because he's Aaron Donald. So good play by Fowler. Again, shows you that ability on stunts. Here's going to be a play where Fowler's here on this side. Keith Smith's going to whiff on this block. Fowler's going to get a tackle for loss on a 6-yard tackle for loss, which is going to basically kill that drive for the Falcons, and then later on, we're going to see sort of the play that ended the game for the Falcons, any chance of them coming back. Again, Smith whiffs on that block. Keith Smith was a big upgrade over what the Falcons had the last couple of years, and Ricky Ortiz and Derek Coleman. But, hey, I bet you guys didn't think you would get a Patrick DeMarco reference on a Dante Fowler film review. But, hey, here we are. Patrick DeMarco's making this block. But whiff, right? Good job by Fowler. But, Falcon's going to Falcon. And even if Smith makes this block, but hey, there's Aaron Donald again, beating Jamon Brown. And he's going to make the tackle loss anyway. So, maybe if Smith hits his block, instead of a 6-yard loss, it's a 4-yard loss because Aaron Donald's going to make that play regardless. But just wanted to point that out. Good job by Fowler to make the play and making Aaron Donald's life a little bit easier. Here's going to be Caleb McGarry again, showing bad technique on this play. Fowler doesn't win. Aaron Donald does. It injures Matt Ryan, as you guys infamously remember, whooping Wes Schweitzer, and that's why you don't leave Wes Schweitzer on an island again. Sorry. You guys will see on the end zone angle. So we will break down Fowler, and this is going to be more instance of McGarry, but if you want to see Aaron Donald being Aaron Donald and beating, a dude, being a dude and beating a dude. But Fowler is going to beat McGarry, and actually you'll see it better from the sideline angle. And so what's going to end up happening is McGarry is going to do a poor job with his feet, and he's going to wind up crossing his feet. And I'll pause it at the moment where he crosses his feet, and that's bad right there. You see his feet crossed. There's no base. There's no balance. And so if we play it forward, once you see that on film, that offensive lineman's going to end up on the ground because he has no balance whatsoever. And so basically the only thing that prevents Dante Fowler from beating him so cleanly and getting the sack instead of Aaron Donald, or at least getting, Aaron Donald beats Schweitzer so bad that I don't even know if Fowler's going to get there in time. But is basically McGarry on his way down winds up pulling down Dante Fowler and yanking him down. So you'll see right there, and then McGarry winds up on the ground. He winds up yanking down Dante Fowler. But essentially, that's not a kick slide, guys. That's bad feet. That's not being able to handle speed. That's not being able to get out there. That's just poor technique, poor footwork by Caleb McGarry. He's going to cross his feet. It's over right there. You can't cross your feet. Your body is completely parallel to the sideline. You have no balance. You have no base. You'll see it also from this angle, not as clearly, but the moment where I paused it, I'll show you guys right there. I'm sorry. Hey, why don't you pause button work? Let's see, you're gonna see kick, 2 feet too close together. Then he's gonna cross his feet right there, and there's no way he's gonna win that matchup. It's over right there. That's just bad footwork, bad technique by McGarry. A good job by Fowler because again, that's what speed gets you. When you can consistently use that speed, you can get offensive linemen, so worried about that speed that they lose entirely their technique. So that's the last play I wanted to show you guys from this Falcon game. And we will go to his second best. That Falcon game was his highest graded game of the season. His second highest graded game of the season was against the 49ers in week 16. And I just want to show you the 3 sacks he had in that game. He had 3 sacks and no hurries. So these were all the real positive plays that he had as a pass rusher in this game. Here's one in the third quarter where he's going to get a coverage sack, but he does a good job again showing that ability to that motor, that second effort. Here's Fowler here on the bottom side going up against Joe Staley. The coverage is going to be so good it's going to force Jimmy Garoppolo to hold on to the ball too long, wait, and then Fowler's going to win from behind and sort of loop around and get that sack and do his little bow that he often does. You'll see it again on the left side of your screen. Yep. That's coverage right there. That's Jimmy Garoppolo's like, the ball should be out. No one's open. I don't know what to do. And then Fowler just winning. Just keep working. Coverage sack. Solid play. Dante Fowler. that second effort. Let's go to the next play. This is going to be, again, him ripping through, I believe, Mike McGlinchey on this side. Yeah, here's Fowler here. He's going to rip through, use that speed rush again, and get a sack strip. Him and Clay Matthews are going to meet at the quarterback and, lead to a sack strip and a fumble. I think Garoppolo recovers it. But here's Fowler on the left. Here's Clay Matthews on the right. Matthews going to beat George Kittle. Fowler's going to power through with that rip right there, get a hand on it, get a second effort, keep working. As you can see, sort of he rips through, right? Then gets that hand to slow down Jimmy Garoppolo. Now Jimmy Garoppolo has the fear of God. He's going to go into the fetal position, as all quarterbacks do, except for Ben Roethlisberger when they get hit. And then he's going to keep working, get off of that block, come from behind and get the sack strip. Garoppolo's going to fall on it. As you see, Clay Matthews just bullying George Kittle into the quarterback as well, put him on skates. So that's another positive play, another sack for Dante Fowler. He's going to be a half sack that Fowler's going to get working on a stunt from the top side here. Again, Aaron Donald whooping Laken Tomlinson, and Fowler's just going to win on the stunt. Just loop behind, just follow Aaron Donald's lead. So another positive play from Fowler. Again, we get the speed rush on the previous play. We get the sack, the stunt on the next play, and that's going to be the bulk of where Fowler wins. I just watched Laken Tomlinson just get all turned around against Aaron Donald. Yeah, you don't. As an offensive lineman, you don't want to have your butt to the sideline. That's basically where that's a bad place to be. So let's move forward and show you Fowler's worst graded game against the Steelers. And we'll show you, I got about 10 plays from that, and that's going to highlight some of Fowler's weaknesses. Essentially, let me take a drink of my coffee out of my Atlanta Falcons mug for a second. Throat's getting dry. But essentially, on this game, the Steelers do a good job, much better than the Falcons, of using tight ends and running backs to chip. In the first couple of plays I'm going to show you are going to show you that. Fowler only had 2 pressures in this game. And I think one of the pressure, because Pro Football Focus doesn't tell you exactly what play the guy got pressure on, but from watching the game, I think one of those pressures came on a screen, where he was unblocked and basically forced an errant throw on a screen pass. And then the other one came at the very end of the game, where he kind of realized, okay, this is how they're blocking me. And he finally made an adjustment. And I'll show you that play as well. But a lot of it is the Steelers' offensive line was very good at picking up stunts. So a lot of Fowler's usual production coming off of stunts was mostly ineffective. And then the Steelers did a really good job using their tight end and their running backs to help chip to slow down Fowler's speed rush, so he couldn't use his speed rush. And so that's one of the things, if you want to call it a knock on Fowler, is that you can kind of somewhat, if you have a good offensive line and good coaches, which the Steelers have. Mike Tomlin should have won Coach of the Year last year, if you ask me, to basically win as many games as they did with horrendous quarterback play. Just amazing to me. It's horrendous quarterback play. But sorry, got on a tangent. I was thinking about Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges being terrible. The Steelers did a great job of game planning against Fowler. And because their offensive line is a much more cohesive unit, and one of the problems the Falcons have continually faced in the Alex Mack years, which to me wasn't a real big issue in the Todd McClure years. And I think Alex Mack is a tremendous player, certainly a much better individual blocker as a center than Todd McClure. But one of the problems the Falcons have continually had over the last 4 or 5 years with Alex Mack at the center, and it's not to blame Alex Mack on this, but as the center, as the anchor, as the leader of this unit, he is somewhat responsible for this. Again, it's not his fault, but ultimately at the end of the day, the buck stops with him, and it's his responsibility to make sure that this offensive line is cohesive. But the Falcons have continually struggled with blitzes. They continue to struggle with stunts, and that's a big reason why Fowler was so effective. against them earlier this season, in addition to Caleb McGarry's sort of greenness as a pass rusher. So here is Fowler on the top. They're going to motion Vance McDonald to the top. Again, he's just going to sort of slow down Fowler from using that speed rush. And then I'm going to highlight one of Fowler's arguably weaknesses and why he tends to rely on his speed rush, because his bull rush isn't as effective because he doesn't have ideal hand placement. I'll let it run through and then I'll slow it down for you guys. He tries a bull rush on the Steelers left tackle, Ali Villanueva, who's a 6'9" offensive tackle. And, you know, the bull rush is essentially you want to get under an offensive tackle's pads. And Fowler doesn't do a good job. You would think going up against a 6'9" guy, he should have no problem doing this. But this is going to be, I got a couple of plays where I'll show you guys this. But essentially what Fowler's going to do is he's going to put his hands on top of Villanueva's pads, so he's not really under it, right? You know, you're going to see Villanueva kind of duck down to make his frame smaller because he's so tall, which is a good job by Villanueva. And so Fowler's hands are going to be up on his pads. So, you know, if you guys can see me on my little tiny screen, right? When you're bull rushing, what you don't want to have your pads up here. You don't want to have your hands up here against the offensive tackle because you're not going to be able under his pads, right? So what you want as a bull rush, and I know you guys can't see me, but you want to get in the guy's chest or in his armpits on the bull rush. So you want to get under his pads to create that leverage point so he can't then sink his hips and anchor, and then you're going to power and work him back into the pocket. And Fowler doesn't do a good job of this because he consistently puts his hands too high. And so that's something that he can work on if he wants to get a more complete pass rush set by getting better hand placement under offensive tackle's pads. And he's going to try that. He's going to get push, but Villanueva is going to have no problem anchoring against that right there on that play. So that's something I wanted to highlight. And there's a couple other plays that we have in which this is, again, another play where the Steelers are going to effectively use the tight end. Again, they're going to line up. They're going to motion Vance McDonald to this side. He's going to slow up Fowler. And as you can tell, Fowler doesn't do much. And it's a touchdown. We'll show you again from the end zone angle. They're going to motion McDonald to this side. Again, to slow up Fowler. Also show you that it's man coverage. And Fowler can't use the speed rush. So, again, a good job by the Steelers on that particular play. Let's go to the next play. Again, the tight end is going to motion inside. Fowler's here, and that's going to prevent him. He's going to try to use that rip move against a Okorafor. And, again, this is the Steelers knowing that they have a weakness at the right tackle. I don't know if this was Okorafor's first start or not, but he's obviously not an experienced right tackle for them. And here's Fowler here. He's going to use his rip move. He's going to get kind of past the Okorafor. But the ball comes out too quickly. I'm sorry, guys. Let me slow it down for you guys so you can see better. All right, so they're going to motion Vance McDonald here, and that's going to help out their young, inexperienced offensive tackle. He's going to rip past him, right? But the ball's out so quickly. Good play design by the Steelers on that crossing pattern to get some yardage there. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. Let's go to the next play, which is later in the second quarter. And this is going to be an instance where the Steelers are going to do a good job using the running back to chip on this play. Here's Fowler here at the bottom of the screen. And they're going to chip with the running back. And that's going to slow down Fowler as well when he tries to attack to the outside shoulder. And, of course, Villanueva also doesn't have that much trouble staying in front of his speed. There's a fumble, whatever that is. Don't really care about the result of the play. So there's the running back chipping just to slow down Fowler's outside speed. Again, good job by the Steelers. Let's go to the next play. This is going to be Fowler trying to use a different pass rush move. Again, going to show you a little bit more of the arsenal of Fowler. He's going to try an inside spin move. It's somewhat effective. Gets the tackle turned around. He's able to disengage right there, that inside spin. But, Aaron Donald's going to wind up winning that rep, working over Marquise, all decade Marquise Pouncey on this particular play. But here's Fowler. He's going to use an inside spin move. not ideal. It's not Brooks Reed, it's not Dwight Freeney or anything like that. So that's another move that he can work on. Get Brooks Reed in here, get Dwight Freeney in here, teach him how to spin move. Hell, get Jack Crawford in here. But yeah, inside spin, it's effective, but it's not ideal. That wouldn't be necessarily like, oh man, he's got a great spin move. Was effective on that play. And we saw earlier that he was able to use it to here's going to be Fowler at the top. He's going to be working against Villanueva, the left tackle again. And I think he's going to try to use a push-pull move on this, but it doesn't work. And maybe part of that is just because, again, not ideal hand placement. You'll see it a little bit better on this angle. I think that's what he's trying to do. But whatever he's trying to do is not that effective. And so just showing you plays like this to try to highlight essentially that Fowler needs a little bit of a better arsenal. You're going to see get the hands inside. That's a better hand placement there. And then he's going to yank and pull, but doesn't get quite enough right there. You can see that hand. I don't know. He might be grabbing face mask right there. I don't know, but just not quite as effective as you would want it there. Here's going to be Fowler's going to get basically, for you wrestling fans, Villanueva is going to practically hit him with a lariat, but Clay Matthews is going to get a sack on this play. But here's Fowler at the top, and he's just going to deck him and completely knock him off his rush. But Clay Matthews is going to wind up winning that rep going up against a core four. So, even though Fowler's not winning, when you have other good pass rushers, it works. Your pass rush works. Amazing concept. Someone send a memo to the Falcons coaching staff. But here you're going to see the tight end lineup on that side, hopefully slow down. That's going to allow Villanueva time to sort of gear up and just completely level Fowler. It's kind of just basically just punches him. As you guys can see, he's going to try to use that rip and just completely cleans his clock. But Fowler, Matthews going to use a nice swipe move on the outside. I know it's not a Clay Matthews breakdown, but Clay still got it. Someone call him. He's still a free agent, if I'm not mistaken, right? He still got some speed rush. Here you're going to see another example of Fowler trying to use the bull rush again on the top side against Villanueva, and hand placement is not going to be great. It's going to be, again, a tad too high. He's able to shock him back initial with that, but it's not going to be able to prevent Villanueva from coiling those hips and anchoring. You're going to see it again on the left side. And I'm just showing you these plays again just to show you a better idea of what Fowler's full arsenal is. And again, that bull rush is not ideal. We'll rewind it for you guys. Again, you're going to see hand placement is better, but it's still just a tad too high. He's not going to be able to get under those pads, right? You see his hand placement is up here. You want it a little bit, you want those armpits, you want that chest, right? You want him to be getting a pectoral massage to lock on that forward chest pad and plate right there. And he's just not going to be able to create that leverage and push to really disrupt that throw. And so Mason Rudolph's going to actually throw a catchable pass, and his tight end, I think that's Nick Vanette's going to drop it. No, that's Vance McDonald. Sorry. Let's see. Next play. Here's going to be the Steelers. This is going to be one of several instances where the Steelers do a good job picking up a stunt, and that's going to take away some of Fowler's production. Again, he's going to come on a stunt here on a twist inside. Steelers going to do a good job picking it up. And, that is a testament to Marquise Pouncey, who is a good center. I just don't think he's all-decade type of center. Here's Fowler here on the right side. They're going to try a stunt. Matt Feiler, their left guard, is going to do a good job making this adjustment right there, picking it up, gets a little help from Pouncey, open window, boom. And without those stunts, which is a big part of Fowler's production. But we'll finish this off with the Steeler game, and then we'll get into some of your guys' comments in the chat. But this is one time Fowler does win on the bottom of the screen. He was going to win on the inside rip move, basically, making the adjustment of, oh, my speed rush is not working. The stunt's not working. Let's try to set up the inside rip move. And he's going to do it effectively there, right there. Get that pressure. Unfortunately, I think Rudolph is still going to complete the pass and set up what is the game sealing field goal. But yeah, there's that inside rip, right? He's been going outside all game long and realizing, okay, the running back's going to help him out on the outside. Now I'm going to go inside and win. And that's basically the one time Fowler won. And it took him basically, pretty much the entire game. That was the final drive of that game with like 3 minutes left. So wanted to show you guys some of those things from Fowler's 2019 film. And, we'll get into the comments. PayPal My Money says there's a Grady Jarrett effect too. Yes, there is a Grady Jarrett effect. It's not quite the Aaron Donald effect, but, there is a Grady Jarrett effect. So I do think Fowler, particularly on those stunts and twists, will be very effective teaming with Grady Jarrett. Mad Mike Sports. Erin, when are you coming on my show? Introduce yourself to my audience. You can't run from Mad Mike. Where's the invite, Mad Mike? You jump in the chat and you say, when are you coming on my show? But I haven't got a formal invite. Hit me up in the DMs, my friend, when you want me to come on. Iron Mike says you and Aaron need to link up. I agree. West had a good rep against Donald. Like, yeah, I guess maybe one of those plays he did have a good rep against. Donald, I love all the movies we made so far. All the moves. Oh, sorry. Can't read. Sorry, reading through the comments live on air is tough. I was too busy. Unless McKinley is fully healthy, I think we need another pure edge rusher. Yeah, I don't think having another edge rusher is going to hurt the Falcons. I think, however, with Fowler, I think because you already have his speed rush, you have Takk McKinley who can line up inside and outside. It's more of a power rusher. I think getting another speed rusher will certainly help the Falcons, but I think more importantly, being able to get that pressure, because when Fowler is going to loop to the outside and use his speed rush, that's going to force the quarterback up in the pocket. And essentially, if you have another interior rusher to go with Grady Jarrett, that's going to lead to a collapsed pocket. And so I think the better complement to Dante Fowler's skill is another interior pass rusher, because, again, Grady Jarrett's very good, one of the better D tackles in the league, one of the better interior pass rushers in the league, but he's not Aaron Donald. And so if you want that Aaron Donald type of impact on the inside, you're going to need another guy. Like Grady Jarrett plus another competent interior rusher is going to equal Aaron Donald. And so I think, getting another edge rusher just for depth, and so that when you do kick Takk McKinley inside, and again, if you had re-signed Adrian Claiborne, he could have given you some of that because he can rush inside and outside. Whether you go out there and sign someone like a Michael Bennett, that's a big reason why I'm in favor of the Falcons signing Michael Bennett. Again, if Clay Matthews is still available, as far as I know he is, please let me know in the comments if he's not. But, he could also be able to play some of that Sam linebacker and also give you some rush on third downs as well. Let's see. I think Javon Kinlaw, Floyd Donnelly says nothing is going to stop Atlanta if Javon Kinlaw is available. I think Kinlaw is, to me, the ideal sort of guy if you're not going to get a veteran like a Michael Bennett between now and the draft or after the draft. So I think if Kinlaw's there at 16, you pull the trigger on that. And so, if you guys have any other Falcons questions, I'll be happy to answer them now that we've gotten through the film portion of the show. Part of me wanted to go through the entire Rams game and showcase some other things that aren't Dante Fowler related, that rewatching the game, I was like, oh yeah, this was the thing. This would have been a good opportunity to also show you some Todd Gurley stuff, but we already did a Todd Gurley breakdown. So I figured let's focus on Dante Fowler. CD3224 says, you think Jamon Brown is the best in-house option for the Falcons at left guard for the foreseeable future? I mean, it depends on what type of run scheme the Falcons want to run. If they're going to go back to the wide outside zone scheme, then Matt Gonald, I think, is a better option, because Matt Gonald is much more of that heat-seeking missile when it comes to taking out those linebackers and making those reach blocks on the second level. than Jamon Brown is. That's never been Jamon Brown can do that. He can function in that scheme because when he played with the Giants 2 years ago, that's basically the scheme they ran, which was an outside zone scheme. He can function at. That's what the Rams ran. They won an outside zone scheme, but he was never great in that scheme. And that's part of the reason why the Rams got rid of him, because they knew they could get better play from, that right guard and left guard position than what Jamon Brown offers. So in an outside zone scheme, I think Matt Gono's the best option. I think Brown can function in that scheme, but he's not going to be great in that scheme, particularly as far as their run blocking goes. And if the Falcons are going to continue with the inside zone and running Dirk Cutter's so valuable run scheme, which is not, but pardon my sarcasm, then I think Jamon Brown's probably a little bit better than Matt Gono in that regard. We need to draft another edge rusher to put a match on Tack to get him focused. I think Tack's issues, and maybe we'll do a film breakdown later this year. Tack's issues are he doesn't rush with a plan. Tack just wants to bully guys. Tack basically wants to use power. He wants to bully guys. He's going to win with effort and all that sort of thing. He doesn't really have a plan. Now, the reason why Tack is more effective doing that than, say, a Vic Beasley is because Tack has better physical tools. He's stronger, more physical, all those various things. And so Tack is effective. If you go back to that Eagles game in week 2, he dominated Jason Peters in that game. That's probably the best game Tack's ever played in his life. He was just wrecking Jason Peters in that entire game. He was dominant in that game. You go back to some of those games late in 2018 as well, particularly against the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. Tack was dominant in those games as well, and he had some other really good games earlier in the season. Cincinnati game stands out in my mind as well that season. So Tack at his best is a excellent pass rusher. But the problem is, and this happens with a lot of guys, and this was a big reason why Vic Beasley was so inconsistent, is that guys that rely solely on their physical skills, unless you're a Julius Peppers type of athletic freak, that's not going to be reliable consistently. Like, you have to be the absolute freakiest of the freaky. And, Ziggy Ansah was another guy that was like this, but then dealt with injuries, and so wasn't as freaky as he was prior to his injuries. But, these 6'6", 280-pound guys that are long and athletic and, could be NBA power forwards, like the Julius Peppers, like the Ziggy Ansahs of the world, those guys can just basically rely on their athleticism and their physical tools to win consistently because they're just so freaky and so athletic that no offensive tackle outside of the elite, Jason Peters at the height of his ability might have been able to stop him, Walter Jones or that type of dude. Like, you have to be elite left tackle to be able to handle those guys. And Tack's just not that freaky. Now, Tack's athletic enough to beat some guys. He can beat, Jason Peters at the end of his career. He can beat, some lower level tackles. But Tack needs to be able to rush with a plan. He needs to be coached up, is essentially. And again, this speaks to the issues I think this coaching staff has had with coaching up guys, because I don't think they're really doing a great job teaching guys how to rush with a plan. And Tack is just out there, I'm going to outwork you, I'm going to outmuscle you, I'm going to bully you. And with some offensive tackles, that's effective. With other offensive tackles, not very effective. And so you have these games where Tack is dominant, and then you have these games where Tack is pretty quiet and may get one or two pressures, and for the most part of the game isn't particularly effective, because it really depends on the quality of the competition. Good offensive tackles are going to be able to handle that for the most part. Lesser offensive tackles are not. And Fowler's kind of the same way, like, because he's so reliant on his speed rush, like against tackles like Caleb McGarry who can't handle that speed, he's going to be very effective against better offensive tackles that can deal with that speed, as we saw in that game against Jake Matthews, even though he was able to beat Jake a couple of times. But for the most part, outside of, I think I basically showed you like the 2 times he beat Jake Matthews in that entire game. They probably went head-to-head about a dozen times in that game. And so against better offensive tackles, it's not going to be that effective. So that's really the issue. And, the best pass rushers, the best coaching staffs are able to develop their pass rushers with a plan. And I think the Falcons kind of leave their guys to their own devices. And that's why certain guys like Adrian Claiborne and Grady Jarrett have been successful, because on their own, they're going to put in all the work. But, Vic Beasley and Tack McKinley, not to question their work ethic, but they're young players that don't have that guidance. Like Adrian Claiborne learned that stuff, 5-6 years into his NFL career. Like, he was in the league for 4 or 5 years before he came to Atlanta, and then by then had figured out how to put in work. Grady Jarrett's just Grady Jarrett. So he's a special case where he's a young guy that came in, probably, getting a lot of help from Jonathan Babineau those first 2 years to sort of see how you do it. And we don't have that with Takk McKinley. And that's part of the reason why I think, a number of people wanted, some veteran pass rushers this offseason, to sort of show those guys the ropes, because, clearly I don't think they're getting it from the coaching staff. So, Iron Rand says, I think Takk's shoulders are not fully healed, so his power game suffers. That was definitely the case at the end of the season when he suffered that shoulder injury in the first Carolina game, I think it was. And he played on it for like the next 4 games, but it was very clear that it was just not like he should have been shut down for the season. But again, that's part of the reason I think Takk gets a bad rap. Like, he went out there, should have been on IR for the last month of the season, and he played with an injured shoulder that needed to be surgically repaired for 4 weeks before eventually it got so bad that they had to shut him down. And so, like, Takk doesn't get credit for that because people just want to focus on, his social media stuff, which is whatever, and sort of his quote unquote immaturity or whatever the case may be. Maybe he's immature, but like, I would never question Takk's toughness. I would never question his motor. I would never question him in the slightest way. He just needs to be coached up. That's all it is. Like, there's nothing wrong with Takk. I don't think there's an issue with Takk and sort of his ability. I think the issue is he just hasn't been coached up, and that's just something that this coaching staff has not done a great job over the years. They've had success with some guys, but not everybody. How do y'all feel about Keanu Neal from Chris Law show? Hey, look, this is a Keanu Neal, pro Keanu Neal podcast, if you're asking me my opinion, Chris. So the questions is he going to be healthy, and is he going to be the same player that he was before the injuries? If we get 2017 Keanu Neal, this is going to be great for this defense. I'm not confident that we're going to get that dude. So we'll see. He suffered an ACL injury and an Achilles tear. I doubt he's going to come back to his pre-injury levels. And one of the issues that you can argue that has basically hurt this team is because the team has mismanaged their depth behind Keanu Neal. And I think the last couple of years have proven that Keanu Neal is arguably the most impactful defender for the Falcons, at least in their back seven. More so than Deion Jones, more so than Desmond Trufant, more so than anybody else, that without his presence, their defensive scheme doesn't quite work the same. And we saw that really last year with Kamal Ishmael there. We saw that the year before with Jordan Richards. Sherrod Neesman played well down the stretch in 2018, but for whatever reason, the coaching staff were like, no, we don't want Sherrod Neesman at strong safety anymore. And they put him at free safety, which is not really his ideal role. But, they decided that they wanted to go with Kamal Ishmael, who's not a safety, and proved that 5 years ago. And that's why the coaching staff moved him to linebacker 5 years ago. But they decided, like, hey, he can get it done. Whatever. I'm not going to go on another anti-coaching staff range, but they make some very questionable decisions. CD3224 says, you think the Falcons pass rush improved from last season? And if not, can they improve it towards the end of free agency or with the draft pick? I think the Falcons pass rush was better. I think, Grady Jarrett played well. I thought Takk was solid. I thought Vic Beasley improved last year. But neither one of those guys were like difference makers outside of maybe 1 or 2 games. It really got better in the second half of the season because Adrian Claiborne, I thought, dominated against NFC South teams. Like, when you look at his production against NFC South teams like Carolina, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, he was very good in those games. For those 5 games, I think 29 of his pressures came in those 5 games. And then, like, for the other 10 games he played last year, he only had like 19 pressures, or something like 19. So basically he was okay against other teams, but then against those NFC South teams, he was really dominant. And so all of a sudden, Grady Jarrett had help in those games. And you also saw Allen Bailey be better in those NFC South games. He was really good against the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers in that first matchup. You saw Jack Crawford play better in the second half of the season. And so all of a sudden, instead of basically having a one-man pass rushing unit, which is what the Falcons had outside of that week 2 game against Philadelphia, where Takk stepped up in the first half of the season with Grady Jarrett. And so basically when Grady Jarrett didn't dominate in those first half of the games, then the Falcons had no effective pass rush. They got some help in the second half. And my concern right now is you lose Beasley. Okay, no big deal. You replaced him with Dante Fowler. That's an upgrade. You lose Adrian Claiborne. Who's replacing Adrian Claiborne? John Kaminsky? Good luck with that. Alan Bailey? Good luck with that. Steven Means? He's coming off an Achilles tear. Good luck with that. So I'm sitting here wondering, like, who's going to be, and so I guess you're essentially entirely reliant on Takk McKinley to make that step. And it's not to sit here and say Tak's not capable of doing that, but is he going to get the coaching that he needs to do that? And history has taught us that no, the answer is no. I mean, they did a better job coaching up Vic Beasley. He was better last year than he had been in previous years, but not to any major degree. I mean, well, if it was major, it was because he was so bad the previous years. So, it's one of those things. And basically the coaching staff realized, like, oh, the best way of using Vic Beasley is not to make him a pure pass rusher, which is a lesson that they should have learned in 2017, if you ask me. And that was the lesson I was preaching to folks back then. But, hey, it took them 2 years to figure that out. So I do think the Falcons need more help in the pass rush. I do think they need to find a fourth guy, to basically fill that Adrian Claiborne role. Because, okay, let's say Fowler's an upgrade over Beasley. Let's say Takk makes a leap. Let's say Grady Jarrett continues to ascend. A 3-man rush is good, right? But you need a fourth guy to pick up the slack. And trusting in Alan Bailey and John Kaminsky, I think they'll be better than they were last year, but not by a huge degree. They got to be significantly better to match Adrian Claiborne's status. So, like, to me, I would be a lot more positive about this pass rush if we had another Adrian Claiborne type of player, caliber player in this rush. And whether that's a Javon Kinlaw, whether it's a free agent, Michael Bennett, Everson Griffin, Jadeveon Clowney, whatever the Falcons got to do to get that guy, they got to do it, And I would prefer it to be a free agent, because a free agent, is going to come in and be polished, and the rookie, who knows? Rookies are unreliable. That's the lesson we've all learned over the years. Like, every now and then you get an impact rookie, but even like what rookies had the best season for the Falcons? Deion Jones in the Dan Quinn era. And truth be told, Deion Jones wasn't that good for the first half of that season. It was just the Falcons offense was so good that it didn't matter that Deion Jones wasn't that good, because they could just outscore teams. But even then, it wasn't like they were winning every game. They were like 500, like 12 weeks into the season. They were like 6-6, 6-5 by week 12. And then their offense went on a tear. And then it was like, didn't matter. So, like, again, it's not meant to badmouth Deion Jones, but it's just one of those things where, like, rookies don't come in and are these world beaters. Like, you see these Nick Bosa's and everybody's like, oh, we can get a Nick Bosa. But then they realize, like, Nick Bosa's a rare dude. Like, that's a once in a generation. That's a once every 3 to 5 years type of player that's going to come in and do that. Those players don't grow on trees. And if anybody's going to be that this year, that's Chase Young. But yet the Falcons can't really afford to give up all the picks that they need to give up to go get a guy like Chase Young. I don't even know if they can afford to give up the picks they need to go get Javon Kinlaw if he doesn't fall, out of the top 13, 14 picks. Like, maybe they can give up a 4th-round pick to move up 2 spots to get Javon Kinlaw if he falls, but that's about it. They can't package, a third and a 4th or whatever. They have 6 picks. They have a bunch of holes. They have holes at safety. They have holes at cornerback. They have holes at linebacker, D tackle, edge rusher. They need a center of the future. They could use an upgrade at tight end. They could use an upgrade. They can use another speed receiver at wide receiver. They could use another running back. Like, the Falcons have like 8 or 9 holes that they need to fill in this draft, and giving away picks so you can get one guy. Well, Javon Kinlaw will be a good player, but then you'll spend the next 3 years trying to fill in all those other spots, and you're just going to be, Javon Kinlaw in a 7-9 team. So, they're in a tough predicament. So I'm hoping that, in addition to the draft, trading down in the draft at some point, whether it's in round 1, round 2, round 3, picking up some extra 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round picks to fill some of those spots. In addition to potentially getting, that cap savings with Desmond Trufant in June, and hopefully there's still some guys available in free agency, whether that's a Clay Matthews or Michael Bennett or Everson Griffin or Jadeveon Clowney, or finding a way to create the cap space to get Yannick Ngakoue. I don't care. Just relying on a rookie, Javon Kinlaw is great, but I don't think he's going to single-handedly save your season for his defense, because I think this defense has a lot of question marks. And I like the Fowler move. I think it's an upgrade over Vic Beasley, but you also need to at least fill that Adrian Claiborne size hole in your pass rush, first and foremost. And even if you're saying Takk McKinley's going to fill that hole, then you got to get a guy that's better than Takk McKinley. So you got to get a fourth guy. Draft, free agency, I don't really care which way you go, but you got to get that guy, because if you're relying on this secondary, the Falcons have gotten by with a ho-hum pass rush in previous years because they had an elite secondary in 2016 and 2017. Then injuries took that away in 2018, and then youth, you could say, took that away in 2019. And if you're trusting in this young secondary, and I know everybody loves them some Raheem Morris and thinks that he's going to solve the problem, but there was a lot of games in that second half of the season where they struggled. Tampa Bay carved them up. New Orleans carved them up. Carolina and Jacksonville didn't. I know New Orleans didn't carve them up in that first game, but the second game they didn't have any problems picking apart that secondary. San Francisco, although that was less the wide receivers and more George Kittle, they just couldn't cover George Kittle. But, Raheem Morris didn't have an answer for George Kittle, and if you're expecting Keanu Neal to be that dude at this point in time in his career, 2017 Keanu Neal could have been that dude, but I don't know if 2020 Keanu Neal is going to be that dude. So I feel like this Falcon team is in a tough spot defensively, because if their defense isn't up to par, and I think their defense it could be better than what it's been the last couple of years, but that's not really saying much. Last year, statistically at least, was the best defense Dan Quinn's ever had. And at least when you look at DVOA, they were the 20th best defense in the league. So the bar is low. So Raheem Morris may do a heck of a job this year. And if he gets into the 19th best defense, that would be an amazing accomplishment, because that would mean that he's the best coach we've ever had, since, Mike Smith and them or whatever, when they actually had defenses that routinely were in the top 15, which Mike Smith doesn't get credit for, but that's a conversation for another day. And I think Raheem Morris has been dealt a bad hand. I don't question him as a coach. I just think the Falcons have just given him a bad hand. Their pass rush is going backwards. Dante Fowler is a great addition, but he single-handedly is not going to, he's not going to come in here and be a Khalil Mack. That's not who he is. He's a good pass rusher, but he's not I'm the guy and I'm going to single-handedly just wreck everybody, as I showed you on this film breakdown. There's certain matchups that he's very, very good at exploiting, and there's other matches where he's not as good at exploiting, because not to say he's a one-note pass rusher, but, compared to the elite pass rushers in the NFL, he is more of a one-note guy, and he's good at that one note. He plays that note really well. And, the knock on Vic Beasley was he was a one-note pass rusher, but the problem with Vic Beasley, wasn't great at playing that one note. Fowler's much better at playing that note than Vic Beasley, but he's not a guy that's just going to come in and be basically just completely oblivious. Now, maybe he is, if he's going through the work this offseason to put in the work and improve that bull rush, improve that hand placement, develop that spin move. Maybe he's putting that work. I have no idea. We're all under quarantine, so hopefully he's doing it. But, this offseason is going to be even harder for you to coach up guys, because we're not going to have OTAs. We're not going to have mini camps in all likelihood at this point in time. At least it doesn't look like it right now. And so if we're sitting here talking about Takk McKinley needing to be coached up, is he going to get it? Or is he going to get it via Skype? So I feel like the Falcons need to do a lot more defensively to get this team to a point where at least I can't speak for all of you guys, but at least I can have a little bit more confidence that they can actually put together a competent defense on the field this year. And because if they don't, then we're relying on the offense, and we're relying on Dirk Cutter, who's never coordinated a great offense. And the Falcons were able to get by with mediocre defensive play in 2016 because they had a historic offense. The Falcons were able to somewhat get by in the first half of 2018 because they had a quarterback playing at an MVP level, for the first, 7 or 8 games of that year. And then again, not to blame that 5-game losing streak on Matt Ryan, but they took a downward turn offensively, and suddenly they start losing games because their offense couldn't keep them afloat. And I credit the defense for stepping up last year at the end of last year, but They were facing some bad teams in the second half of the season. You're not going to get the benefit. You can't, like, if you're going to sit there and tell me that this defense is going to be good against Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs because they were good against Kyle Allen and Gardner Minshew, I'm going to sit here and say, good luck with that plan, my guys. Now, fortunately, if Bruce Arians picked them apart with Jameis Winston, what is he going to do with Tom Brady? I'm curious to see how this thing goes. So if I sound negative, I apologize for that. But it's just like I have a lot of questions. And right now, without them hitting a home run in this draft and getting more help in free agency, whether that's secondary help, whether that's pass rush help, again, I think they need to upgrade the cornerback room. They need to upgrade the safety room. They obviously need to get linebacker. They need help at literally every position on this defense. And are they just going to get that in the draft and then be content to just coach up the guys? And like that's been the plan the last 2 years, and it hasn't worked out. So I have a lot of questions, guys. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I spent the last, they call me easy. Just said, what do you think about the defense overall? I spent the last 15 minutes going on a rant about what I thought about the defense. I think they have some pieces. I like some pieces, but it's not a complete picture. That's all I'm saying. Like, I just think they need a lot more help than this group currently is giving them. And I think relying on a bunch of rookies in the draft, while it's going to help you long term to help turn this defense around, I don't know if it's going to pay off for you in the short term in 2020. So I think they need to get some more veteran help. And whether that's a corner, whether that's a pass rusher, whether that's a linebacker, I don't care, to be honest with you. I just think they need some more veteran help. Somebody that can come in right away that all right, whether it's Everson Griffin, whether it's a Michael Bennett, whether it's a Clay Matthews, whether it's a Darqueze Dennard, a Logan Ryan. I don't know off the top of my head what safeties are available, but get somebody in here at some position on defense that I know exactly what this guy is. Like, I know what Dante Fowler is. I think he can be more than what I think he is, but I know Dante Fowler is going to be able to give you production in certain games against certain matchups. I know exactly what it is. I don't know if he's going to do that against all games and all matchups, but I know I'm going to get, anywhere between 6 and 10 really good games from Dante Fowler this year. And those performances are going to help me potentially win those 6 to 10 games. What he does for the other 6 to 10 games remains to be seen. And there's going to rely on other players to step up and make plays. So I think the Falcons have some nice pieces, but I don't think they have a complete defense, is all of that rant to say. So there's the end of the rants. So if you guys want me to break down another player next Saturday, this same time, 12 noon Eastern, let me know. Right now, I'll probably sit here, if you guys don't have a specific player that you want me to break down, if you guys want me to break down some of these free agents that we could wind up signing, like a Michael Bennett, like a Darqueze Dennard, I'll do that too. Just let me know in the chat what you guys want to see on next week's film. Otherwise, I'll probably just sit there and break down Laquan Treadwell and maybe Justin McCray or whatever, and sort of do an all-in-one sort of breakdown. And we can, if you guys need a Leroy Reynolds breakdown, then I can give you that. You just watching him hold on special teams, that'll be basically, I'll just show you 5 penalties on special teams, and that's your Leroy Reynolds breakdown. So just let me know whether you leave it in the chat, whether you leave it a comment on this video. By all means, whether you hit me up on Twitter, I'm at Falc Fans. If you want to hit up the show on Twitter, Falcons PFC. You want to hit up the show on Facebook, Falcon Central Radio. Of course, as I said at the top, you want to subscribe to Pro Football Central on YouTube. Like this video, share this video, let the people know that, we did a breakdown of Dante Fowler for an hour, and you got 30 minutes of me ranting about how this defense needs a lot more help and Raheem Morris has been dealt a bad hand. Let the people know about that. But next week, we'll try to do another All-22 breakdown, and then the week after that will be the draft. And probably that Saturday, I probably won't necessarily be able to do a thorough breakdown, but we might be able to throw up a couple of plays while the draft is going up live. We might do a live show like we did last year with me and Matt Carrolley. Might be able to get some people on the day 3 show, and we can do some live chat while day 3 of the draft is going on and maybe show you guys some plays. So if you guys want that, let me know in the comments. Hit me up at all those places. And we got some great content for you. If you guys missed it, This past Thursday, we did a all 2020 draft. We had 2 prospects on: Oklahoma State cornerback AJ Green. We had Utah linebacker Francis Bernard. Falcons have shown a lot of interest in Francis Bernard in particular. They've shown some interest in AJ Green at the Senior Bowl and whatnot. But Francis Bernard does potentially fill one of those linebacker holes potentially. You could potentially love to plug him next to Deion Jones. And, he's a smart guy. Listen to that interview. That was on Thursday here on Pro Football Central. We've done past interviews with Cincinnati tight end Josiah DeGuara. We've done Charlotte pass rusher Alex Highsmith, another guy that could be that edge rusher that you guys are talking about that you could potentially get in round 3, round 4 of this draft. So definitely check those out and follow PF Central on Twitter, because the owner and founder of ProFootballCentral.com, Brian Harrington, is coming back with the show. Couldn't really do one this past week. He did the one previous week on Periscope on Twitter. PF Central. He interviewed Tampa Bay defensive back MJ Stewart and new Cleveland Browns. Yeah, Cleveland Browns. D tackle Andrew Billings. I was thinking Cincinnati Bengals, but he used to play with the Iron Mike says Tampa Brady. Shake my head. Brady is lame. He is. People say the Matt Lana stuff is lame. Like, I don't hate it, but it's better than Tampa Brady. That's Tampa Bay and Tampa Brady. So yeah, but we'll see what happens this year with the Falcons. I think there's room for improvement so far with their offseason. I like the moves that they made. I just don't think they're enough so far, but we'll see what happens. Appreciate you guys tuning in. This episode's getting long. Sorry for the rant at the end, but had to get some things off my chest about this defense and what it's going to improve. But if you have any additional thoughts, let me know in the comments, and we'll be back on Thursday night with another show and another potential film breakdown on next Saturday. So see you guys then. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe out there. Wash your hands. Do all that sort of stuff. I don't know where most of you guys in Georgia, I imagine it's a nice day. Here in North Carolina, it's a nice day. So go take for a walk, but keep your 6 feet distance as you guys do that. So see you guys later. Enjoy your day.